metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. And welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Jen Cruz, your host tonight, and this is the Journey Radio Show. It's Wednesday night. We're showing up as the She-Squatchers. So, of course, I've got my trusty teammate, Jena Grover, on the line. Hey, Jena, are you there?
I certainly am here today. Very excited. Like always, I'm very excited. But today, I'm very excited.
Oh, you sound so exotic, like you're from Australia?
Australia?
Or something.
I know, right?
Kind of like our guest is from Australia. Actually, they're in Australia right now. I'm so excited to have him on the show because he's come to talk to us about the Australian Bigfoot known as the Yowie. And so let me tell you a little bit about our guest. His name is Jackson Samael. He's an Australian trekker, Yowie, Bigfoot explorer, paranormal, supernatural, and UFO enthusiast from Port Macquarie, New South Wales, Australia. I hope I said that right. Jackson, are you there?
I sure am, Jen. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad you could come on the show with us tonight.
Welcome. I'm so glad to make it too. That was really close, Jenna. You sounded more like an English person to me, but that was a really good effort. It's one of the closest efforts that I've heard from an American so far. Today was out there, and hope you're having a great time up there in the US and everywhere else where everyone's listening from.
Well, welcome. I know we have listeners in Australia already because sometimes they send me messages and they say, hey, I'm listening to the Encore show. I know you're not live right now, but I have some questions. So hello to everybody else in Australia. This guy is from your home country. So that's going to be quite interesting for our listeners out there. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? We'd love to hear more about you.
Okay, a little bit about myself. Let's see. I was born in Sydney, which is the capital of New South Wales. Spent a little bit of time in Sydney before I moved up to Port Macquarie originally. Did all my schooling here in Port Macquarie. Then I moved up north to around Byron Bay. That was in the early 90s. Let's see. I've been into Bigfoot and the paranormal and the supernatural and everything since the late 70s. Like, I remember watching the first documentary on Bigfoot back in the late 70s, where I was really taken back, where it showed this couple that was sitting in a lounge room and these arms just came through a window and grabbed the woman, and the husband's gone to the front door and he's opened the door and he's just had to look up at this big hairy dude that was like about 9 foot tall. And ever since then, I've been into that sort of thing. I've been into the supernatural. Where I grew up down in Sydney, we lived in an old house that was built back in the 1800s. And we had supernatural things go on in that place. Doors open and close, lights would turn on and off. We've had stereo turn on and had to unplug it and still turn on. Had one experience there where I was in my bedroom. I was only about 7 years old and I had a set of bunk beds because I used to have a cousin that used to come over and visit and sleep on the bed above me. And I was lying in the bed one night and the top bunk just dropped on me. And I just had enough time to be able to lift up my legs to my my knees to my chest to catch the top bunk falling on top of me. I had many things go on in that place. My sister would never sleep in my room. Ever since then, I've had a very big Like I've always been influenced by the supernatural. I've learnt to never close your eyes to anything unless you can prove it 100% that it's not real. Keep your mind open because you will always come across things that like most people I know are either too ignorant or arrogant to open their minds to that sort of thing. But once you do, you'll be surprised what you can discover. I've had UFO encounters. I've had Yowie encounters, Bigfoot encounters, as you would call a Yowie. Like once you delve into things that people, don't really want to think about, it's amazing what you actually discover. Like I spend times out in the bush. I stargaze all the time. I record heaps of videos. Like just west of here is a place called Kendall. And out the back of that, we've got, well, to put it into perspective, we have a great dividing range that runs the entire east coast of Australia, which is basically 2,300 miles. And it's just one big mountain range, and it's all forest. Our Blue Mountains, compared to the Grand Canyon, say, like the Grand Canyon's about 1,900 square mile, our Blue Mountains are 3,240 square mile, and it's all forest. There's been disappearances in there. Not speculating as to what happened. Most people probably got lost, but who knows? I've had a few experiences around here with things in the bush, like things getting thrown and noises, and I try to get out all that I can, put up trail cams, and yeah. Yeah, it's quite a wild place here.
Have you ever found anything like a structure or anything that you could physically go inside, or anything that you've got on video, on camera, something that you could share with everybody later?
Okay, I can probably share something a little bit later. I'm actually talking through my phone at the moment, so it's going to be a bit hard to be able to do it right now.
Oh,
But
yeah, not right now.
I have come across structures like I've come across like logs that are 10, 12 foot off the ground that are across an X that are just counterlevered and balanced. Don't know how they got up there. No storm did that. One of my first ever encounter, like, as I said, I've been looking at this stuff since the 1970s. Since then, I've got friends that know that I'm into this sort of thing, and I had a friend living up at Mount Warning, up near the Northern Rivers, up near the Queensland border, and he was living in a converted dairy bales that was on about 250 acres on the edge of the Mount Warning National Park. And he was having strange things happen up there. Like, he didn't know if it was just people playing around or anything, but he knew I was into these sort of things. And he said, look, I'm getting weird smells up here. I'm getting things thrown at the cabin. Can you just come up and check it out for me? Yeah, I can come out there. And I was a little bit skeptical myself. And second night, I stayed up there for 3-4 nights. And on the second night, there's this huge bang on the side of the cabin. And he just looked at me, and I looked at him because, like, it made me almost jump at the time because it was just unexpected. We're sitting there watching a movie. Bang. And the second bang, another big bang. What's that? And there's this huge crash. And we've gone outside, and the side of the cabin had, like, it was a corrugated iron, and had 2 huge dents in it. We've come across these logs about probably a foot long, maybe 6 inches round, lying near the cabin. We had a 3,000-gallon water tank that was 2/3 full. It had been pushed completely off the stand. It was 5 foot off the ground. And we don't have bears here. We don't have anything with that sort of strength, you know. And just the smell. Like, I've chatted with Matt Delph about this. Like, the smell that was in there, it makes you gag. It was like a cross between rotten meat, garbage, the worst body odor you could think of. And Matt brought up wet hay, and that was sort of into it as well. And it's like, you know, like, we don't have those sort of things here. So it's like, I've heard quite a few stories about when I had that first experience myself. That's what really got me out there and trekking and putting up trail camps and everything like that. Yeah, that was my first experience. And like, once you've had an experience like that, you can't go back. It's, you know, you
It's
have
definitely
to keep going. Yeah, you
it,
have to keep going to prove it to yourself. It's, even if no one else believes you, you have to prove it to yourself just to keep going. Oops, sorry.
speaking about getting going. You are getting so excited. You're dropping things.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's
I'll get
okay.
you straight now. Sorry about
That's all
that.
right. We're still here. It's all good.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yes.
We can.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah. It was just such an incredible experience. Like, once you've had that first experience, you can't go back.
You get hooked. Hook,
That's
line,
it.
and sinker. You do. I mean,
Yeah.
first time. I mean, even if you don't believe in Bigfoot, you still get hooked because you want to find out, is it for
That's it.
real?
That's it. That's it for sure.
You
Like,
find little bits and you're like, wow, this is incredible. Could that be really
yeah.
Bigfoot?
Yeah,
You know?
it's like pieces of puzzles, and that's what's exciting is that each group in the Bigfoot community, each group they're all getting pieces of these puzzles, and it's exciting to be able to hear your pieces because this Australia is a place that I've always wanted to go to, and hopefully we will be able to go there someday. But Australia is, huh?
We'd love to have you over here for a visit.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Well, and I'm just wondering, some of my biggest questions are about your terrain. What kind of terrain is it compared to, say, U.S. soil? I'm assuming you've been on U.S. soil
Have you been
squatching.
here? Have you been here?
No, I haven't actually been there squashing yet.
Oh,
It's one thing I really want to do. The best way I could explain it would be very similar to your Appalachians. Yep.
oh, okay. It's like Appalachians, like the Blue Ridge, like hilly, forested,
Yep.
foggy.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Very cool.
That's kind of like Matthew Delph's territory out there with Micro, Mountain Empire Cryptid Researchers Organization. He's our good friend. Shout out to Matthew Delph.
Yeah.
Hey, Matthew.
Right? Awesome. There's one thing I wanted to say about you, Jackson, is in the Bigfoot community, you've got those researchers who are really respectful of other researchers and friendly, and then you've got the ones who aren't, and you're just really a really nice guy from what I can tell so far, and getting to know you and talk with you over the times that we've talked. I really appreciate that about you. So I'm giving a shout out just because there's sometimes drama in the field, and I've been observing it from afar for a while.
You always get
And
the ones that always,
right,
always have a go at you, but I just keep my own truth, and that's all you can really do.
And those are
I
the
know what
types of
I
people that I
know
invite
what
on the show.
what I believe, and those that don't, and well, that's their loss.
Right. I always tell people we're not out here to find something to prove it to you. We're out here to find something because we want to find something, and we'll share what we find And you can either accept it or not. That's up to you. But we're just sharing what we found. You can decide what it means to you. Doesn't matter.
That's it. That's it. I'm not a preacher. I don't push anything onto anyone. I just explore my own truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's exactly it.
Those that believe, then I want to share my experience with those people.
I don't know. Personally, okay, for everyone listening out there, I just met him tonight, actually, at around 5 minutes to 9. And Jen said, well, okay, we're going to record this. And so I was sitting there dancing, and Jen was like, and all of a sudden he started dancing and it was like, yeah, rock it, because I thought, oh my gosh, this guy's so cool. You can feel people's energy, and he just has this incredibly peaceful, organic energy. And I just had to point that out because, wow, I love it. I think you're awesome already. And I just met you. So had to say that.
And I had to stop recording and say, guys, stop being goofy. I'm recording this.
I know. And I was like, why not? People want to see us what we really are, You guys would have loved it. You guys would have watched it over and over again.
Pleasure to meet you too, Jenna.
Yeah. So I feel the same way. You have a really pleasant energy to you. So I appreciate that. And I'm just calling it out there. Kudos to you. Good job. And those are you're the type of people that I like to have on the show. So I just like to state that you're a super friendly guy, and anybody else out there who's looking to talk to somebody in Australia, I would totally recommend this guy right here.
I'll put my hand. Yeah, I can thank my parents for that. They brought me up well.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So
yeah, I think I've probably got sort of bit of the natural tracker and everything in me as well. As like, my father was part Navajo, and he taught me quite a fair bit on tracking and everything when I was younger, and going out, respecting the wild and respecting the animals and respecting the bush. And I take a lot from that, and that's made me a lot of who I am today. So I'm very grateful for that.
See, now that's something that really interests me is the tracking part. Like, how you said you were taught tracking from a young age. What kind of things were you taught? Were you taught to look for certain, like, I don't know how I can say it on the air, dung or certain prints, certain smells?
Yeah, all of those. Looking for different hair fibers that you may come across to be able to identify different animal prints, scat, all those different things, smells. If anything like any sort of kill's been left behind, then you might try to identify what might have, taken that down, whether it be a dingo or a goanna or something here, or a snake, or just basically getting out there, feet down, and exploring and experiencing and learning. I've been doing that since I was about 5 years old.
Well, that's what when we come out and visit you, because we're going to come out and we're going to go squatching with you. And as we do this, you are going to have to teach us some of these family learned traits. So, because do you think this maybe helps you be a better Bigfoot researcher or a paranormal researcher, just all of that training?
Yeah, well, being able to identify, the different prints and scat and everything else, you basically learn the terrain around you, what sort of thing you're looking at, hunting or tracking, and then when you identify what you're tracking, then there's different ways to stay elusive to that, as Bigfoot does to us.
Have you ever seen anything that looks like Bigfoot scat?
No. Bigfoot scat, it'd be probably as hard to identify here as what it would be there.
Yeah.
But have you seen a Bigfoot or a Yowie in person?
In person, I've had the encounter of the smell and everything. I have encountered one. I was staying in a tent on my own. Dr. John shook his finger at me when I told him this, because he said the same thing about Matt. Don't go out on your own. You're an idiot. And I was out.
Oh no!
I was out I was staying in a dome tent one night. I'd set up a couple of trail cams, and I'm in the tent one night, and I've heard something outside, and being on my own, and as you know, here in Australia, we don't have any firearms or anything, so I didn't have any real protection. And I was in a 6-foot high dome tent, lying in the tent. Something's pushed down on the top of the tent till the tent nearly touched my face. Now, I heard grunts, I heard rock claps, and a few things earlier. When the tent got pushed down, there was no way I was going to unzip it, the thing. Because, it was a 6-foot tent, and it got pushed down from the very top, basically to face level. I wasn't going to go out and investigate.
Well, that's totally understandable. What were you thinking? Like, were you like, oh my gosh, this is it, it's time? What were you thinking?
Basically, everything. I was thinking about what the newspaper heading would be the next day.
Oh, no.
Out of tent in the forest. I don't know. You don't really have time to think when that sort of thing happens. You just, I don't know, your bowels contract and you just stay still and quiet as you can.
So did you get any sleep that night at all? Or were you just like up listening, like, don't come back?
No, I was up all night.
So, are there bears in Australia?
No. People call koalas bears, but they're not bears. They're marsupials. Yeah.
Okay, so you have no bears.
Yeah, no, we have no bears. Deer are an introduced species. Dingoes originally were an introduced species. All we basically have here are snakes, spiders, crocodiles, marsupials, and mammals. That's basically it. So something as big as that. Like I think I mentioned to you before, Jen. You asked about the different types that we have here in Australia. Like we have one similar to the orangutan pendek, which has been sighted in Indonesia. It looks similar in colour to an orangutan. It's slightly bigger and we've got one similar here now. We've got a slightly bigger one as well, which we call the Yowie, similar to your Bigfoot, and that grows to around 7 to 9 foot tall, anything up to around 800 pound, 900 pound, which is very similar to your Bigfoot grassman. In the research that I've been doing and trying to look back is, like, some people say that Bigfoot could be from Gigantopithecus, could be an offset from like a subspecies of Neanderthal, could be a cross species of both. Now, from what I understand, Neanderthal was last really known in Asia, Southern Asia, around Indonesia. Now, that was around the time when Australia was the land bridge with Indonesia before the continents got separated. Now, I'm thinking, like, what would have stopped the Neanderthal of coming to Australia before the continents separated? And we know for a fact that Neanderthal and Homo sapien crossed. So who's to say that Gigantopithecus and Neanderthal also didn't crossbreed, create another subspecies? Yeah. When all land mass separated, all these different subspecies got separated. They created their own environment, their own territory, and separated themselves from the Homo sapiens and everything else. So who's to say that the Yowie here isn't a subspecies of this or that and this, and of Neanderthal, of Gigantopithecus, same as Bigfoot and everything? And because they had the element stealth, like Homo sapiens and Neanderthal ran like since 60,000 years ago now. If you've had to live in the forest for that long, generation after generation, having to hide from another species, you're going to be the ultimate in stealth. I mean, no one's going to find any evidence of you besides footprints, and they're not going to find bones. I mean, Neanderthals buried their dead 60,000 years ago. You say Gigantopithecus, and that didn't as well. That's why we don't find their skeletons. They bury them. They must have some sort of spiritual, you know, as we do. I mean, we still bury our dead today. So if they're the ultimate in stealth in that way, then how are we actually going to find them? They've done it their whole life. They're like the SAS or the Marines for 60,000 years. You're not going to find any.
Yeah, I think they're going to be the ones that are going to allow us to find them. I did have a question for you though. I'm curious if you think there's any kind of supernatural twist to all of this, or if you think it's flesh and blood species, or it may be both.
I think it could be both. I've got a theory um, like I've seen orbs and stuff around in the forest, seen UFOs and stuff around, and I've heard reports about people seeing lights and stuff around the UFOs and around the Yowies and Bigfoot here, and like I almost I might go off on a tangent, but um, like when you think of UFOs, like I think of the Nephilim and the Elohim and the Anunnaki, and when I think of the correlation between UFOs and Bigfoot and that, like there's a good chance that the Bigfoot could be the Watchers from the Bible. It's going off on a tangent, but what does Bigfoot do? It watches. Who's to say that they aren't the Watchers of the Bible that are here on Earth that co-interact with the Nephilim or the Elohim or the Anunnaki and give them progress reports on us?
Well, that's an interesting idea. We are at the half of the show, so we're going to have to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Jackson Samael. But stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, so we're probably clear, but we're still recording on the video. So you're doing good. Good.
Yeah. Oh, this is my first ever video cast.
Yeah,
oh,
there
really?
you go. So it's interesting that you bring up the Nephilim and the Elohim. For those who are listening on the video, Elohim is the word translated as God in the first 4 or 5 books of the Bible. And your last name, Samael, is that your real last name?
Samael.
Yeah.
It's really complicated.
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
Because that's an angel. That's the name of an angel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, hey. Pretty neat. Yeah.
I'll have to go into that in further detail with you later.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Me too. Me too. I want to hear it.
I won't forget about you, Jena. Sorry.
Perfect.
Is that confusing for you, Jen and Jenna?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to add an A.
You what?
I just have to add an A at the end.
There you go.
Add an A to the end of Jen.
Perfect. And it is Jena, not Jenna. So pretty unique even in my name. I can't help it. No,
All right, we got 10 seconds.
I do
10
thank
seconds.
you. I really like your energy. I am so excited that you're on tonight.
I am too.
What'd you say, Sarge? Are we on? I think we probably are. Hi, welcome back to the show. This is the Journey Radio Show, and we're back. I didn't hear Sarge's cue. So, welcome back to the show. We've got a very special guest tonight, and so I just want to tell you, when we are not live on the air, you can find us at thejourneyradioshow.com. And hey, we are the She-Squatchers. Please check out our website at SheSquatchers.com. And please find our Facebook page, She-Squatchers Official, and give us a like there, because that's where we post the most up-to-date information of what's going on with us. So go to Facebook for the newest happenings and the latest about us. So tonight we have a very special guest coming to us straight from Australia, and his name is Jackson Samael. Welcome back to the show, Jackson. You were telling us about the Yowie. Awesome. There were people in the chat room asking about Neanderthal and was he tall or short? And so people have been discussing that amongst themselves in the chat room. Do you have any comments about that?
About the Neanderthal? Well, from what I've researched about him, very muscular, very big bone structure, 6 to 7 foot tall, predominantly meat eater. Did live on some herbs and vegetables at sometimes. Very primitive, mainly used stone and wood for weapons. Actually lived with nature, like in harmony, rather than what we do, which is, primitive, but also very smart, very strong, very big. Yeah.
Gotcha. I think I read one time that their brain, their skull size had a much larger brain than Homo sapiens skull size would allow for. So they had a larger brain capacity. That was interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah. It sort of just makes you wonder, though, how the different species learnt to adapt back then. Like, apparently Homo sapien learnt to adapt earlier. They went into different things, went into sort of, like, Neanderthal were more sort of nomadic, whereas the Homo sapiens were the first to actually bring into agriculture and everything and made a stable place for themselves. And I think that was what was the main basis for the Homo sapien. Like, they actually developed on that level more, making a stable place rather than trying to follow food and everything. They learned to grow their own. They learned to build their own places. They learned to, herd things and so on and so forth. Whereas with the Neanderthal, and that they were more hunters and gatherers than, I think that's what the main difference was back then. That Homo sapiens formed more community-based areas where they gathered strength in numbers, whereas rather just being nomadic and just traveling around and just hope to find food.
Very cool.
I'm curious, throughout the world, you have humans all over, but the traditions of the people change. We're still here?
No.
Are you? What's wrong?
No.
Are you okay? We're here.
No.
We're here. We're still here. Jena, I cannot hear you. So,
I'm here.
I think Jackson has frozen up now. So,
did you hear his little birdies in the background that were so cute?
I did. Well, hopefully he'll come back.
Definitely. Do you know what time of the day it is over there in Australia?
I think he said the show started at 2 p.m. on Thursday for him.
Oh, nice. So it's in the middle of the day. That's awesome. Isn't he interesting?
Yes.
Jen, his energy is just amazing. Literally, like I am like totally into his energy. It's very calming, soothing. It's almost like a hippie energy without being too out of it, like out there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is exciting. I am so glad we get to meet him. And I'm not kidding about going to Australia. It's a place that I really, really want to go, and I can't wait. And hopefully one day we will be able to go squatching over there. And I bet he would be the guy to bring us out there.
Yes. Let me
Great
try
contact.
let me try to add him back to the call here.
Okay.
But good plan.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little glitch. But yeah, so very cool. And because we're talking to him after 2 p.m. on Thursday, we're actually speaking to the future. Because it's Wednesday night here.
I love it. Back to the future, baby.
Right?
Mm.
So I thought that was an interesting idea that we're actually speaking to someone from the future because he's in Thursday. We're still in Wednesday. That'll just blow your mind for a minute, maybe.
My mind was just blown.
There you go.
So if you guys are out there listening, make sure to get your questions out there because we definitely have time for questions, I'm sure. He's got a lot of great answers. I really was interested in what he was talking about as far as, I mean, he's really got a good, solid historical knowledge. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that he used to be a tracker. And I'm sure you could do a lot of great tracking yourself, Jen, but I don't know. It's something that I'd really like to look into because I think, wow, that's family tracking. That's like generation, taught.
Yes. Well, the tracking thing, I think a lot of men get to learn that from their fathers as boys, and that's something that us girls don't actually usually get to learn from our families like that, you know?
Yes, that stinks. But you know what? It's got to be different now. I mean, they've got to be teaching whoever wants to. I mean, if a little girl's saying, Daddy, please teach me, and the son is like, no, thanks, I'd rather go and hang out with the boys at the social club or whatever. I mean, you'd think the dad would take her out. But
Yes.
I wonder if they do a lot of teaching of the tracking still to this day. I'm sure they would.
Oh, I'm sure that they do. I think it's something that parents teach their kids. I'll let you talk for a while, Jen. I'm trying to get him back on.
Okay. Well, if you're listening to the Journey radio show, our fabulous guest, unfortunately, is having some phone issues. But let's see, what can I talk about? How cool I am. No, I'm just teasing. Anyway, Jen and I have such a good time on the show. And I'm so glad we're starting to videotape record the actual show so you get to see the behind the scenes. So if you haven't seen the behind the scenes, this is our second one that we have videotaped. So go out to YouTube and check out the first one, the first videotaped recording we have of our show, The Journey, is right on YouTube. That's all you have to do is pull us up. SheSquatchers official. You'll see our beautiful pictures with Angelia, and now with this lovely radio show that's going on right now, which people seem to be disappearing on me left and right. Looks like I'm the only one here so far, but that's okay. You get to listen to me talk. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and check it out. I'm excited. I've watched it. It's a good time. So, and if you guys want to continue having us do these video recordings, let us know. Give us likes. Go ahead and just give us some messages, whether you like it or not, or if you want to keep wanting us to videotape, or if maybe even if there's a show topic that you want to have us discuss. I mean, we always are looking for information like that. We want to know what you want so we can help and do it. You know what I mean? You're back, Jen.
I'm back. He called me on a different line here, and he said his phone all of a sudden just went dead. So he's got it hooked up. It's charging now. And he's at 1%. So I'm just going to wait like a couple minutes and let his phone charge up a little bit before I try calling him again.
Okay.
So just get to have us for a little bit, folks. I'm just going to check out the chat room and what they're talking about. Kat says, cool to hear from someone who's local, know what's in the area, and know what's unusual. She says, here we have hunters who know how to smear deer musk all over themselves, go out to a spot and climb a tree, wait till they see a deer and isn't really hunting so much as ambushing.
Mm.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. They don't actually, a lot of times they don't go looking around to find them. They just sit in a tree and wait for them to come. Yeah, that's true.
But then again, there are also Bigfoot hunters or Bigfoot researchers that do the same thing. Sometimes if they want to catch it, that's what they think they're going to be doing to catch it. So, I mean, if someone needs that meat and that's how they want to do it, then more power to them. But there's a big difference between the two. I agree with you, Kat. So now, Jen, you're looking like something crazy is going on over there. Okay, she's saying yes, but I will continue to speak. Is that what you want me to do? So, one thing that we like to talk about as far as Bigfoot is the events we get to go to this year. So, what we're really looking forward to is having you guys go check out our page. Well, you can go to our webpage, which is SheSquatchers.com, or you can go to our what is it, Jen? I'm always saying it wrong. Official YouTube. No. What am I thinking of?
I don't know. Facebook page?
Facebook page.
SheSquatchers Official.
Yes.
And that's also how you can find us on YouTube is SheSquatchers Official.
Now, our Facebook page has the most up-to-date things on it, so you probably want to check that first. But how are we doing?
We're doing good. I'm going to try to add him back into the call. Hopefully his phone has charged up enough now to hold the signal. So we're going to try to add him again, and hopefully he'll be there.
Okay. Well, while you do that, I just, it's amazing. When someone tells me to talk, I have nothing to say. I don't know what to say, but boy, you don't want me to talk, and I'll be like, just a minute. I got stories to tell you. So it's so funny not being able to find anything in my brain to say. Usually it's so wildly open.
This is why I told Jena I need a co-host, because sometimes when technical difficulties happen and your guest all of a sudden is not there and you're the only voice there, sometimes you just don't know what to say. But normally when there's somebody there, I can talk for hours without stopping.
Right.
And isn't it funny when you're fighting dead air? It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, and that's the part that I can't stand. When Jen first told me, like, say something, and I was like, hey, my name is Jena. I didn't know what to say. I was like, there was some dead air. At least now I can comment and, talk about what we do and our events. Speaking of events, Jen, we've got some pretty cool ones. In fact, there's some sales of tickets that are going on for the Virginia Bigfoot Conference, the ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. You can buy tickets now, can't you?
You can. If you go to virginiabigfootcon.com, I'm sure you can find the link there. And they are selling tickets now. I think they are on the early bird pricing I think they're $30 for the conference. So I would encourage everybody to go check that out. That's the end of June in Waynesville, Virginia, I believe.
June 29th. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, we're going to be there. So if you haven't gotten your tickets and you want to meet us in person, go buy those tickets. That's all I have to say about that. And
exactly.
There's going to be a lot of great people there too. In fact, we kind of got to see a little bit of what the venue is looking like, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. This venue is so much better than last year. I think Daniel's doing such a good job, and it is getting to be more just welcoming for everyone. So do you see anybody in the chat room that has just a fabulous question, even for us?
People are talking about how it's a good idea always to have a co-host so you're not cussing and have technical difficulties on the air. Isn't that true? No cursing on our network here. But, while we're talking about events, I'm just going to talk about, I've been trying to get him back on the line and it keeps saying that he's not available. So I'll just keep trying. Hopefully one of these times he'll be able to be there.
Good.
So we've got June 29th, the ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference. Then July 5th and 6th will be at the Reamer Bigfoot Days Festival in Reamer, Minnesota, the home of Bigfoot. That's always fun. You can usually find us there every year. Then August 2nd and 3rd, we will be in Kansas City for the Kansas City Paracon. And they have a brand new venue for that. It's much larger. And that theater where the speakers speak at, I can't wait. It looks so fancy. So I've never seen something, a theater room for speakers to be in so fancy. It was just gorgeous. I'm pretty excited to be there.
Oh, that's so
and
cool.
that'll be the 3rd year in a row that they've asked us to come and speak with them. So I feel so honored that they keep asking us back. September 14th and 15th, we'll be at the Bigfoot Music Festival again in Reamer, Minnesota. Yeah. That is such a good time.
You know, if you guys have never been there, you should. It is so much fun. The bands are incredible. The band that was there last year, we have some video of it from last year if you want to go back and find that the videos, but they were so amazing. We got to get their pictures with them. Not only that, they had CDs. They sold out probably in the first hour, I think. So we didn't get to get a CD, but man, they were so good. In fact, everybody that played there was so good. The Jen and myself and Tammy and Marlo were right next door to another band. In fact, they're kind of up and coming, aren't they, Jen?
Oh, I know they just came out with a CD, Van and the Free Candies. They were fun.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we got to go ahead.
I got to sing with them. Their motel room was just down from ours, and they were having a little party outside on the porch all night, and they were singing songs, and we went out there and we asked them to sing us a song, and so they impromptu sang a song about the She-Squatchers. It was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. They sang about Bigfoot, about She-Squatchers. We were like, oh my gosh, you guys should make up a song for us, so we have some kind of fabulous intro Bigfoot, but we never did get to get that done, but that's okay.
Yeah. So that'll be the middle of September. Middle of September, we'll be at the Bigfoot Music Festival in Reamer, Minnesota. So come check it out. It's going to be a good time. We will be there. And we'll also be hosting another Bigfoot calling contest. And that was definitely crazy fun. So be ready for that. Our special category. We have the regular authentic Bigfoot calling contest. One section for children and one section for adults. And then we have a special category that is just for adults, and it is the Bigfoot mating call.
Now, last year, that was almost a little naughty. And you, mister, if you are listening to the radio, you know who you are. It almost got rated X.
It was hilarious. A really funny time. It was a good time for sure.